Welcome to another Dolphins in Depth podcast provided to you by the Miami Herald. I am your host, Miami Herald columnist Omar Kelly, and we are here to break down what we saw at Dolphins rookie mini camp. I know most Dolphin fans are excited because they don't get the opportunity to see them in person, and really that's the biggest takeaway that you can have is seeing them in person, because most of these rookies have no clue what they're supposed to do on the field. And it's really just a learning process, kind of like a job orientation. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls, who is about to complete his first job orientation with the Miami Herald. Once he gets to training camp, he's still a rookie. Yeah, you ain't done rookie training camp. You haven't done OTA, so you're still a rookie. You got to make it to training camp.
I did about half the training camp last year. So once I get to that halfway point, I'll be like, oh, okay, cool.
All right, we'll call you sophomore then.
Yeah.
Listen, Isaiah, the Dolphins had I believe it's eight of their draft picks. Yeah, eight of their draft picks there. A ton of unsigned. I believe it's 17 unsigned rookies. Actually, one of them got cut. Long snapper
Nealon Hibbett.
Look at you. Nealon Hibbett got cut and replaced by who?
Joe Cardona. Who's played, I think, 11 seasons for the New England Patriots as a long snapper. So a little bit of an upgrade there, which is rather interesting.
Yeah, no, rather interesting from the standpoint. Blake Ferguson was dealing with a medical issue last year that led to basically us living off practice squad long snappers for the second half of the season. While it wasn't ideal, it was not a horrible situation. Clearly, the Dolphins realized, hey, this ain't that hard of a job to fill. And so they have seemingly moved on from Blake Ferguson. Wish him the best, especially from a medical standpoint. But right now, Joe Cardona is the long snapper of the Miami Dolphins. But let's get into a little bit more of what the people are here for, Isaiah, which is your impressions, my impressions of the rookie draft class.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the biggest thing wasn't necessarily what was done on the field, right? Because I think, as you mentioned, like, this is a job orientation, right? You were literally out there to make mistakes, right? I think that's something that McDaniel, and I don't know if he's ever done this before, but I thought it was a little bit strange. But I guess, but he basically came over to the media members just beforehand, just like basically just told us, look, guys, it might be bad at points. They're rookies. They're still trying to, learn the system, and we want them to make mistakes, because that's what this format is for, right? Knowing that, you kind of got to take everything you see with a grain of salt, right? But outside of that, I think what I liked the most was seeing the veterans that were there, right? Patrick Paul, I believe, was there. Aaron Brewer, Cater Kohu, Iffy was there. Ashton Davis, seeing these guys, just wanted to take a good look at the rookies as well. I think anybody, regardless of where you work or what format, anytime you work on a team, right? If someone new is coming to your team, you just want to lay eyes on them, right? See how they move, regardless. Mm-hmm. And so I like that, because that signals that they're all in this together, right? They could have been. These are professional athletes. They did not have to be there.
Their day off.
It's a day off. Yeah, they did not have to work on that Friday, but it was good to see them out there, just getting accustomed and associated with their teammates, coaching. It was kind of a beautiful thing, because it kind of speaks to this new culture that they're trying to form down here in South Florida. And I think that it's important, right? And I think that's a crucial first step. I'm interested to see what you noticed, though, Mr. Kelly.
I agree, Mr. Kelly. I know I'm an OG, but you're not calling me Mr. Kelly now. I agree with you. I think this is probably the year. One, I don't care about rookie training camp. It's orientation. Half the time they don't even know what field to run to when the whistle blows. Yeah. It's showing you how to playbook, measuring you for your helmets and your pads, and getting the right shoes, and seeing where your locker was. I think it was Zeke Biggers who talked about, man, that moment where I saw my locker, my name on my locker, and my NFL jersey hanging there. He's like, I had to take a picture and give them an opportunity to get used to the city. I remember there was a time during the Jason Jenkins era, God rest his soul, love Jason Jenkins, where the organization basically this was before the pandemic, indoctrinated the players,
Mhm.
taking them around Miami and showing them the community, showing them Little Haiti and showing them Little Havana. And it was a wonderful thing. It was truly, truly, truly a wonderful thing. And players actually, this was on their day off, and players would literally volunteer to go on it and participate in this, veteran players, because you were learning so much about your community. And right now, a lot of these guys are living in a hotel, but they got to figure out where they want to live. What's the ideal situation? I am a Carol City native. I don't say Miami Gardens. I am a Carol City native.
Let them know.
But I'm not exactly sure I know the facilities in Miami Gardens, but I've known players who did live in Miami Gardens and they had their car stolen.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, like, okay, cool. Where in Miami Gardens are they living? I've seen some nice. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some houses in Miami Gardens for sure. But I'd be interested to see where they were living because
Oh, I know where they're living. I'm not gonna name it, but of course. Yeah. But I'm sorry, you can't have a pro athlete vehicle with nice rims and think it's not about to be a target. No disrespect. Again, I'm a Carol City. I am really from Carol City. I'm from the CC, but I know my community. So Carol City is not exactly the most ideal place for a professional athlete to be living. So
I'm weak, You had it on the shirt, son.
I represent all the time.
I love it.
I didn't intentionally wear this.
I love it.
I am truly a Chief.
I know, but I'm just on the shirt. I just wasn't.
I'm just saying. But my point is, you have to get them indoctrinated in the community. While Miami Gardens has come up. Yeah. I don't know if it's really where you want to live. If you want to live in the Aventura, you can hit a little bit of Miami Lakes. If you want to be close to the facility, Sunny Isles, you could go over there. You could go to anyway, upper East Side where you at. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they need to see the community, and learn the lay of the land. And obviously learn where and how to stay out of trouble. But
I think to that point, and I wish they still did that, but I feel like you do something like that, it kind of changes your perspective on who you're playing for, right? Because a lot of times people think that they're playing for the people that fill up the stadium, and that's not necessarily true. Of course, you're playing for them, right? Yeah. But you got to remember how expensive those tickets are, right? And most fans aren't in that stadium. Most fans will be in that parking lot. They are, in the community watching at home on Sundays. So I think it kind of broadens this idea of who you play for. And I think that's important, especially in a city as diverse and at the same time segregated as Miami. It's important to find these little pockets where you can be like, okay, cool. So I wish they still did that.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because I remember many, many moons ago, many houses and residents ago, I used to live down south, and one of my neighbors who lived 2 houses down from me, they knew what I did. And he was a garbage man. And Robert got really excited that season that he was able to finally financially afford Dolphin season tickets. Mm-hmm. And he was all in the corner. Yeah. But listen, he didn't care because that was a life goal. And I understand it. And you're right. That's who you play for.
Yeah, that's who you play for.
Those are the people who you absolutely play for, not the people who are there to be on the scene and whatnot. So hopefully they get back to showing these young rookies the community and things of that nature. But let's get on the impressions that we have.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a heads up. Mike McDaniel gave you that warning, gave us not warning, but gave us that word of encouragement, just because maybe somebody, I ain't even gonna call no names. Oh, you gonna point fingers? You gonna point fingers?
Oh, I'm definitely gonna point fingers. Go ahead, keep going. I don't know what you're saying, but I just feel like it has something to do with you.
I have been known to look at a quarterback's arm and be like, day one, and be like, yeah, nah, I'm good.
I feel you.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
That's real.
I generally don't. I like evaluating players more so when the rookies are there. And not just when the rookies are there, but when pads come on, because Trot Robinson moves completely differently with pads versus without pads. Not anything you can not do without pads on because he's an athletic freak. Put pads on, they slow down a little bit. Yeah. But I like the size of the players. And Zeke Biggers to me was the biggest player. I mean, he is listed at Zeke Biggers is 6'6", 320. And I thought that 320 was a little bit conservative. I thought it was like a little suggestion. I've been doing it long enough.
This is where we want you at.
Yeah, I've been doing it long enough. I know what 320 looks like, and I know what 350 looks like. And no disrespect. And I was impressed with the size. Biggers is the biggest. Then we go to Kenneth Grant. And then we go to Jordan Phillips, who I was a little bit intrigued because he looked kind of defensive tackle-ish as opposed to nose tackle, which he played in college. Jonah, oh my God. I'm ready.
It's a
Hawaii,
ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you understand. This is a big deal for him to pronounce his name, so we're going.
Savai Nea.
Okay,
Jonas. It's the Hawaii. He says Hawaii. Replace it with an S. Savai. Huh?
Okay. Now we're going.
I want to see you
replace the H with the S and the W with a V. That's what I say. Keep going.
H with X and the Hawaii Savai Nea.
Yeah, there you go. He was
Savai or Savai Naya. Damn, I lost it already.
Naya.
Okay, Jonah. He was a little
JS.
Hey, but I don't want to disrespect that man's Polynesian. Yeah, he's representing the whole culture of people, so I want to get his name right. Yeah. But Jonah, for one of the bigger offensive linemen in this draft, he looked mighty slim. Like I believe he played at 340, and he looked very slim. I'll see what he's listed here. He's listed here at 6'5", 336. And he looked smaller than 336. I was quite impressed with how lean he was. He reminded me of a Mike Pouncey from a build standpoint. Mike Pouncey, for those who don't know, before Mike lost all that weight, Mike Pouncey was just a big guy, but he wasn't fat. He was, and I always respect Teron Armstead was a big guy, but he wasn't fat. I always respect those guys. And it lets me know and believe that even though the film doesn't back it up at Arizona, he can fit into this athletic outside zone scheme where you have to be really athletic to turn the corner and get to the second level. So he certainly looks the part. I'm curious to see how he moves when pads come on. I was also impressed with Jason Marshall Jr. He's a big cornerback. He's when I say tall. Big, he's like what is Jalen Ramsey listed at? Jalen Ramsey is 6'1", 208, and Marshall is listed at 6 foot 201. I have a hard time saying to you that he's 6 foot, and then BJ Armstrong 6'3", 190. These are some. If you watch the Dolphins in depth podcast from last week where I had Emery Hunt on to talk about the draft prospects.
BJ Adams, the corner.
Yeah, what I say?
Armstrong. You're thinking Andrew Armstrong, the receiver too.
Yeah, BJ Adams. Emery Hunt pointed out that it's just not the trench players that they went for bigger players and bigger bodies. They also got bigger cornerbacks. Now the safety is kind of tiny, and Dante Trader Jr. The running back is big, Ollie Gordon II.
That's what surprised me. I didn't realize how tall he was, and I had seen him before at the Senior Bowl, but just seeing him there, he's a lot taller. Yeah, he looks tall.
When I looked at his film, the one thing that stood up to me is how upright he runs. Does he run upright? Yeah, he runs upright. He's got that DeMarco Murray style where it's not gonna. When people talk about an upright runner, it just means he's an easy target. He's easy to hit. And then those guys who are easy targets, they don't last very long, which is probably explains why he was taken later in the third round, despite being a Doak Campbell Award winner. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to be that player or that dog, because Jay Ajayi was taken in the fifth round, and Jay had some very short but very dynamic seasons before his knee gave out on him.
For sure.
but I'm curious to see what Ollie Gordon II is going to be. Quinn Ewers, the Texas quarterback, who, man, well, give me your impressions before I tell you.
I mean, he said all the right things, right? I think he talked a lot about leadership, right? Obviously, the quarterback is a natural leader of any football team. And, he talked a lot about embracing that role. And he definitely had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He even mentioned it himself because he said he didn't expect to slide that far, right? But he's embracing the opportunity. He wants to go out and lead these guys because, that's the way that he's going to make his mark, he said. Exercising those leadership skills, getting these guys in order, learning the playbook, all that fun stuff, right? So, that's with him specifically, that's what I read from that. Curious to see how you felt.
I didn't, as you'll learn, I don't do quarterbacks, so
yeah, no.
I would rather not.
Yeah.
There's an entire team to focus on, and everybody's obsession with quarterbacks is what it is. Quinn Ewers is probably the 7th, 8th guy that I have an interest on in the rookie camp. I'll deter. It was okay. Yeah. I saw some very interesting passes to Andrew Armstrong. As you don't know, I don't intend to learn these undrafted rookies' names.
He's big, though. Andrew Armstrong is big. I think he led the SEC in catches and receiving yards last year with little
6'4", 202 pounds. Yeah. I need to know why he didn't get drafted. He made some nice catches in traffic, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that, but then also nobody's hitting him, and it's the game. The game changes a little bit when you can get hit.
Yeah, of course.
I'll tell you this story. The best quarterback that I've ever seen practice in the Dolphins. I have seen Dan Marino, but I will say this, and it will sound sacrilegious. The best practice performer I've ever seen in a Dolphins uniform was named Jay Cutler. In that one season that he had to come here, Jay Cutler had that thing on him. Yeah. And in practice, when nobody was hitting him, he would fire off passes that were amazing.
Wow.
Okay. Tight windows. Because keep in mind, you wearing that red jersey.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody threatening to touch you. You could just stand there and fire that thing in.
Yeah.
The minute they took that red jersey off, and remember, this is the season that they talked him out of retiring. Mm-hmm. Jay Cutler, and this is Jay Cutler. He had to get the ball out of his hands quick because he didn't want you to touch him.
Yeah,
he didn't want none. He didn't want no smoke. Especially when he came here for, I think it was like $11 million to talk him out of retire. He just wanted to cash his check and get out of here, like Smoking Jay Cutler did. And then he broke his ribs in the season. Yeah, came back from broken ribs. Yeah. After he broke his ribs, he really was playing hot potato with the ball. He was like, I'm not gonna do this again. I'm already in pain. I'm playing with this flak jacket. Yeah. He even did play the first snap of the season finale just to get his money. Yeah. And then pulled himself after the first series and let David Fales play the game. Jay was about that business. Yeah. And so my point of saying all this is there's a different level of quarterbacking that you could do when you're in that red jersey.
Yeah.
When you're not in that red jersey and somebody can break your ribs and basically make you a nice pancake sandwich, the game gets a little bit different. So I don't sit here and evaluate quarterbacks. I'll look at their arms, and Quinn Ewers' arm was okay. But the one thing I wanted to address about the Quinn Ewers, there are reports out there that I am so bothered by.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
That Quinn Ewers could have stayed behind and played college football and made another $8 million playing for wherever he was going to transfer to. One, let me say this, because I do know this with serious conviction. You know who the big paymaster is in college football when it comes to quarterbacks? Texas, where he was. Yeah. University of Miami, who is paying Mr. Beck.
Carson Beck.
Carson Beck $4 million, allegedly, because we don't know the real figures.
We don't know.
Yeah, because and that's where the transparency. So, and I have looked it up. The highest annual grossing NIL player was Shedeur Sanders at $5 million a year. So, for anybody to sit here and tell me that not only is a player and his agents, who's already made millions off this young man, because he had a nice deal with Texas, and then he had a nice deal with Ohio State. For anybody to sit here and tell me that he had an $8 million deal on the table, was not a lock for a first-round pick, and then chose to go into the draft, no matter where he was selected, bull crap. And I'm cleaning it up because that ain't happening. One, if you're first and second round picks, I believe the ceiling is $9 million in terms of what they can make over 4 years. 4 years, and understand, you cannot renegotiate a rookie deal until you've completed 3 years. So you're not coming back to the table like college athletics.
No.
So if you and I forget what Ewers' contract is. I told you, I wrote it down. I gave it to you.
It's small.
It's nothing. It's nothing super impressive. Bless you.
Thank you.
But Ewers is making.
It is. Hold on.
$403 million as a $4.3 million as a seventh round pick over 4 years. So for you to turn and let's just say he was Jonah and selected in the second round. Let's just say some agent told him you were going to be a second round pick. Jonah is making $11.3 million over 4 years. Isaiah, help me out with the math. Are you turning down $8 million for one season for 11.3 for 4?
No, not at all. Not at all. You have to have the worst agent alive to advise you to do that. So I don't. I agree with you. I don't think that report is anything short of a new word for you today, malarkey. So
yeah. And here's the thing. I'm learning from agents that people are being disingenuous about or giving malarkey about what players are actually making because there is no transparency.
Yeah, there isn't like a way for us to find out. It's all just reports, which is very concerning.
Yeah.
I don't even know where this $8 million thing came. I saw it on social media, but I just didn't. I'm trying to find the source. I couldn't even find the source of it. So
and that's the sad part about journalism today is you can just put anything out there.
You really could.
And it'll just get regurgitated, republished, not even cited where you got it from, and it just become the gospel.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is bull crap.
Yeah,
complete. Like I believe it was the kid from UCLA, the kid that went to from Tennessee.
Oh, Nico,
yeah, and he's the most controversial. I don't even think he's making $4 million.
Yeah, he's not. No,
and he's got.
It's interesting. When I heard about what happened with him, I was very people. I saw like the college football media go up in arm because they're like, oh my god, he's gonna ruin it now because and I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not, and me, I'm very pro player, and so like I feel like on one hand I was like, dang, like I understand where he's coming from, right? Like where like they didn't have a quarterback, he stepped in, and he played well, led them to
he had a big old contract.
He got a big old contract, and I'm again not sure about the specific details on it, but
he wants to renegotiate his contract.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with asking, depending on the stipulations, but I don't know the ins and outs and whether or not but it ain't nothing wrong with asking for more money. Now, maybe sitting out is the wrong thing to do. Like I feel like we're not in the professionals yet. You know what I'm saying? You gotta go out there.
Hold on, wait a minute.
They are.
I think they are.
They are.
They're college players making more than 5th round draft picks.
I agree with you, but as long as the NCAA keeps slapping that student athlete title on them, I feel like they still, you have some obligation to, at the very least, not even like the school, because like screw the school don't care about you, your teammates, you know what I'm saying? The people out there that helps you get to where, where you are now, even in the position, right, to ask, right? And so that was my issue with it. I don't like how like he's out there like, you know, you have your homies practicing in the spring ball practices, which I'm sure Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm not sure the temperatures in Knoxville, Tennessee, but I'm sure there ain't no picnic out there being out there for spring ball. So I don't know, man.
But if I tell you
worry
it's time
about
to come
that.
back to the table, if I tell you it's time to come back to the table and we revisiting the situation contractually, and I have an opportunity to leave, and you're basically saying, yeah, no, I'm not coming back to the table. Sometimes you got to put the hammer when you got the hammer.
Yeah, that's real.
And I've been an advocate for that in the pros. People, you know, I saw something today on social media about, oh, why did the Dolphins even give Tyreek and Jalen Ramsey contract extensions last year? Well, because they didn't have any guaranteed money after the 2024 season. And if you're a player of a certain stature, you gonna get your guaranteed money. And not everybody is in that position, but those who are do. It's the nature of the business. And I think the business of college athletics is changing a lot. But I also see NFL teams bucking back at the business changing. And we saw that a little bit with Shador. I think that was part of the equation with Shador. We saw it with Nico. There are teams that blackball because
for sure
it's going to create a bad climate and environment if quarterbacks come back every season and be like, yo, I perform my contract that I already have signed. And that's the thing. The contracts aren't even binding. Like, if you sign a contract, they should be binding. Not that I haven't signed contracts that aren't binding to the businesses, but a contract should be binding, which is bullcrap. But you know, we'll see how it plays out. Other impressions that you had of rookie camp. Well, you did talk to Dante Trader Jr. for quite a while. Your Delaware brethren.
Yeah. Shout out Delaware. I mean, I don't know. I like where his head's at too. That was another guy that I was very impressed with the way he was talking. I remember I believe it was our colleague Chris Perkins at the South Florida Sun Sentinel asked him about, you know, the fact that he has a real shot at starting, right? The two safeties that were signed, Iffy and Ashton Davis, have a combined like 20 starts over the last 3 seasons, so that he has a real shot, at least competitively speaking, right? And his response was, "I'm not really worried about that. Like, I'm gonna lean on those guys. They're in the NFL for a reason. They've been starters for a reason. So I'm not worried about coming in here and taking their spot. I'm gonna lean on these guys because I have a lot to learn. And I thought that's interesting. Because I know a lot of guys. Football's a very rah game. So a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, that spot's mine. I'm coming for it. Like, you hear how guys like Isaiah Bond at the combine say, oh, I'm running a 4.2. Right. Like that bluster is sometimes part of not just football, but sports athletics in general. Right. But to hear him kind of take that step back and say, nah, like these are NFL veterans, like for a reason. I appreciate him being humble about his opportunity. Right. And so, when you think about things like that, and he also shared some stuff about Jordan Phillips that, I know you didn't necessarily think was that big of a deal. But I mean, the kid broke 3 sleds in college, right? I thought that's rather impressive because that shows you what kind of power a guy has. But, and, to that end, right, I'm actually going to be writing a little bit about this today. I don't know. You're familiar with the Athletics College Football Freaks list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at it just last night, and I noticed that there's hella guys from the Dolphins, either most recent draft class or the undrafted free agents that are on there. So I'm going to do a little story about that today. But one thing that I will say, and Jordan Phillips is on there, right? This kid squatted 665 pounds, right? That is insane. Squatted 665 pounds, power clean 365, and then an overhead press of 365 for 2 reps. That to me is an insane amount of power, especially from a kid that is what now just 20 years old. He's 20 years old, right? So he has a lot to grow in the game. His coach actually compared him to Daron Payne, which is really interesting. Considering how nimble he is, and he has a little bit of speed to him, which is more akin to a D tackle, like you said, than a nose tackle. But I will say that, like, I really liked what I heard from Dante Trader, Jordan Phillips. It's interesting that they have 2 Terps on the team. But they're definitely big up in each other. Those are the biggest takeaways from, and in addition to Jonah being very lean, I think Jonah, who's also on this list, right? I think they said that he has a 21% body fat. And he ran last offseason 19 miles per hour, bench 406 and power clean.
19 miles per hour?
Yeah, he clocked at 19 miles per hour running.
I run 16, by the way.
You have. I would love to see the numbers on that, the stats on that. I haven't clocked my. I don't think I'm that fast. I don't even know if I can give you 12, but
no, you could definitely get. I could if I could do 16, you can do 16. You'll be all right.
Okay,
You'll be all
right. Okay, where did you do these? I'm interested.
I come on. I used to run. I Am Athlete. We used to be House of Athlete.
Yes, I actually went there. I met your boy over the weekend.
Who?
Brandon Marshall.
He ain't my boy.
Shoot.
No.
I met him over the weekend.
You met the con man over the weekend. All right.
Good God. You know that this is going to be released, right?
Listen.
I went to the studio. I'll just say this. I went to the studio. It's very nice. It's like a very well, like the House of Athlete, John. Like, it's nice. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
nice
curious to see if he still owns it. But anyway, but the bad business Marshall, best of luck to you.
Let's move on.
So overall, obviously these rookies, they are going to be participating in OTAs with the veterans this week. Yep. I don't think we head to the fields yet. I think we're in the fields on the field next week. There's all kinds of rules in terms of the offseason program, but the Dolphins are working their way to on-field work. They are actually on the field, but coaches can't be there, and so they could just throw to themselves. Yeah. But we will soon be out there in uniform, not pads, but uniforms, playing flag football with it's basically flag football. So in a couple of weeks, but we are here at Dolphins in Depth, going to continue to give you the coverage that you seek, you need. You know how to find us. Do me a favor and like this episode. Also, make sure you're subscribed to Dolphins in Depth so that you can get the regular updates. On that note, we will see you later this week for another episode.
Peace.